friends, it's Catherine from Moonstarlodge in tiny Ontario. We're glad to have you visit for this weekly reading for September 26th through to October 2nd. And I'm having a hard time believing it's already almost October. But anyway, we're still in the waning moon of Weaves the Web, Grandmother Spider Woman, the artist and creatrix. So as we move through this time, through this next week, it's important to look at some interesting variables in the cards. I've already drawn them. So, all right, let's go to the cards. So the 4 decks I'm using this week are the Mystical Moments Tarot by Katrin Weiss-Stein, the Companion Oracle of Mystical Moments by Katrin Weiss-Stein, the Mirror Truth Lenormand by Sylvia Neitzner, I hope I said that, or Neitzner, hope I said that all right, and the Lenormand, oh my goodness, let's try that again, the Lunar Nomad Oracle by Shaheen Miro. And this is a Lenormand Plus. This is one of my all-time favorite personal decks. I usually don't use this with others, but I thought I'd be brave and bring it out today. So those are the decks. All right. So I've laid out the tarot, followed by the oracle, followed by 2 totem cards and 3 cards representing the ancestors and the archetypal support knowledge that we need. So the significator card down here on the left, sadly, is the 5 of Cups. And that means grief and sorrow. There's really no other interpretation of that. This woman is walking almost hip deep in water, which is overwhelming emotion. And it's definitely a sad, sad card. So do remember, though, that this is a general reading for the majority of people. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. But this is for the collective. Anyway, so the week seems to start off tomorrow with, Sunday with a place of sorrow and loss. But it's followed by the 3 of Pentacles, which is an element of teamwork. 2 little birds are helping this young woman rebuild flowers with bricks from a garden wall. And it's very much about teamwork and collective process. And that says to me very much that Spirit is suggesting getting out of your head and emotions will be helped with the support of others. And that shows up here with dog and bear as well, but that's later in the reading. So we're moving through from grief to rising out of it with some collective support. But when you're on your own again, the Sun in reverse says there's confusion, sorrow. It's not bright and lit. There is no clarity here. So whatever's caused the grief and sadness by this point, despite some help, doesn't have the clarity that was expected. So we get the Emperor, and the Emperor is an authoritarian figure. He represents law, order, justice, fairness. Whether this is somebody you know, once again helping you out, or whether this comes from finding the Emperor within self. And I'd be tempted, from my spiritual perspective on this reading, to suggest that this is an internal process. Stopping, looking, assessing, and saying, what's going to get me out of this, because it's really uncomfortable. And then the 9 of Wands in reverse suggests there's an overburden, a non-acknowledgement of a very important thing that you've been protecting, that you've come to the end of, and you've been protecting it, and you're really not acknowledging what you've accomplished, either by yourself or with another. So these cards are clarified here with the first card being stranded. This seems to suggest feeling lost, and that's what's bringing about the sense of despair and sadness. But once again, we have Red Garden, and Red Garden is stepping back and finding the pleasures in very small things, the little things. It's a card of gratitude. This fiery red also appears in the card that's below it. The Liberty card is a freedom card. It says that there is freedom from this feeling of confusion, and that the key of trees, or keys, not keys of trees, keys on trees, suggests that you have the key within you, and that key is stepping back. It's knowledge and clarity. That's what reframes the week for you. There is support. Mermaid's love suggests love and connection with another. And this person looks very similar facially to the Emperor. So perhaps you've manifested this person or manifested a reconnection with somebody that's already in your life that is helping. There's helpers all through this reading. There's helpers, there's fae and butterflies in here. There's moons and stars in here, which represent ancestors and the lineage. There's a dog, and dog is a key creature in this reading, but I'm reminded in Indigenous culture that we value dog as wolf, as the one that the Creator put to guide us through our incarnation on earth. We have the beloved moon, and this is an ancestor card in this reading today. The moon always represents the intuitive side. We've just had this big full moon, but we still have access to the moon, and the grandmother of the moon, which is the creatrix, weaves the web. So she's the one that's representing the knowledge of the moon for this month. So we need to make connection with her as an ancestor. We also have the seer. The seer is the capacity within us to connect, but it's also perhaps connecting with someone else who could give us some information from the all that is. We're not necessarily looking at the future. This isn't about prediction so much as it is a prescription to make us aware of things that perhaps we're not seeing because we've been so despondent. Intuition, getting validation of our intuition from the seer. This is also a call to go back to your ancestors and suggest a dream. So that's the 7 generations back. You don't have to know or have ever met these ancestors. They've walked ahead of you in spirit, so they have knowledge for you. This knowledge isn't going to create clouds, it's going to dissipate the clouds. And I know that because Bear sits here. These are all Lenormand cards, so they are read together. And although they are from different decks, they are read together in consort with each other. Bear is the big buddy. This bear has a buddy with him. Bear in our culture is the keeper of the medicines and the protector. So Bear is like this person below. They're coming in to support you and connect with you. They are like these birds helping this young woman rebuild a flower out of the bricks from the garden. They're like the dog. They're like the moon. And they are like keys, the keys on trees, and you hold those keys. So while this might start out as a confusing, very Pisces kind of crazy intuitive overload and emotional overload week, it's really very much about consolidation and finding purpose and structure. So that's really wonderful. You can come back to, yeah. So I would suggest for this week, there are some important crystals that would help with clarity. So we have crystals like lepidolite, which is a soft lavender color and helps with ajna and crown. We have apophyllite, which looks very much like quartz. Quartz resonates to 7.83 to 7.86 cycles per second, which is the Schumann effect. It's also our brain in alpha when we're meditating or doing yoga or prayer. So when quartz is applied, as I've said many times to my students, if you remember back when we wore watches, often the watch said quartz on the face. That's because quartz impregnated in a little ceramic kind of disc inside the watch with the battery up against it kept perfect time. It kept the watch perfectly going, moving forward. So quartz at 7.86, which is the Schumann effect, that's the resonance of the earth in the majority of places, and that's what we look for when we go into nature, is that balancing. But apophyllite is a different quartz, and it is actually 3 times 7.86 in its cycles per second. So that allows us to connect higher, to get out of ourselves, and get out of our own way here, and move out of distress in this dimension. It actually connects us with source. It allows us to connect with ancestors like weaves the web, the creator, the all that is, the great mystery, God, the universe, whatever you call that consciousness. You can use moonstone, Botswana agate. You can use fluorite, particularly rainbow fluorite or purple fluorite, amethyst. But you also need a little spark, a little bit of a spark here. So that's your citrine, your carnelian agate, Mexican fluorite, or fire opal. So any of those stones are good for this week. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for allowing me into your space on YouTube, and feel free to leave a comment. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We put out 2 or 3 videos a week, some here on YouTube and some on Instagram, so subscribing allows you to get notified. We appreciate your support. Miigwech, have a wonderful week.